Hey you, this is Guns Up Mobile and I'm Casual with another episode of Same But Different. Today we're going to cover the scoped classes, snipers, scouts, and the dreaded sharpshooter. So let's just jump right in. We're going to do the numbers later. Let's just first go through the skills and their abilities and see how that shakes out. Here we have the sniper, that'll be our first one. They have a special ability called penetration. What this means is when they fire and they kill an enemy, that remaining damage will carry over onto the next enemy in the line of fire. Now this starts out at 50% of the remaining damage, and you can increase that by raising the skills. They're a pretty low health unit. Let's take a look at their stats. Probably not the best way to do it. You've got just under 2,000 hit points. You have a very high cost starting out at 250 energy. You can reduce that with the group bonus. They do a lot of damage. Base damage is 1900 damage. And of course, I've got a high caliber here, so it's increased even more. They fire very slowly. Their fire rate is 0.35 shots per second. That's right, it's about one shot every 3 seconds. And you should absolutely increase that with tune up kit and, of course, the Cobra group bonus as well. They start off with 2 rounds in their magazine, and you want to increase that by using their skill called Pack Magazine, which increases the rounds. We'll talk about that in a second. And they reload at a 4 seconds, 4.1 second to reload, and that again is increased by their group, reduced by their group skill. They have a 100% chance to hit, which is fantastic. They start off with 26 range of their attack. Again, you will increase by leveling up their skill. They have negative 100% ballistic resistance and negative, who cares? But it's pretty bad. They have very little resistance to damage and they have very few hit points. Now, ballistic resistance, of course, is not explosive resistance and it's not piercing resistance and all that other stuff. But when you have less than 2,000 hit points, most things like Rocketeer fire is going to kill you, Bombardier fire is going to kill you, Sharpshooter fire is going to kill you. Be very, very careful with these guys. They are fragile. They're absolutely fragile, and anything that has a regular ballistic fire like MGs or Mandos is just going to shred them. Let's take a look at their skills. Packed magazine, yes. You start off with 2 shots in their magazine, and you can increase that up to 12. This is very, very important. They reload very slowly. Their aim time is long because scoped units have a long aim time. So when you only have 2 shots in the magazine, it's 2 shots, and then you have to reload, and then you have to restart aiming. So you want to increase the size of the magazine so they can just keep firing without having to reload and restart their process. That for snipers, a huge part of their DPS or their total overall DPS is very much tied into how many shots are in their magazine, how quickly they can reload or not stop firing. Extended barrel increases the range. It's up to 28.25. That's the maximum range they can hit, which is actually more than the sharpshooter, which has a maximum range of 28. But the sharpshooter starts off with a bigger range than the sniper. So very, very important. Overall, it's just very useful. All of these scoped units have very long range, and you want to utilize that. And piercing rounds starts off 50%, meaning that after you kill your enemy, there's a portion of that remaining damage that gets carried over and with a 50% efficiency. And you can increase that by raising up the skill, which will carry over more of the damage, up to 100% of the remaining damage, onto the next enemy. Okay. Right now, I have my snipers equipped with high caliber rounds, double tap, and a tune-up kit. I've been playing around with a bunch of stuff. All these things are good. This is a good. It's a good setup for them. It means they do more damage. You double tap because look at this. It's 3,000 damage with a level 8 high caliber, and you do that twice to an enemy. Most things will be dropped by this. You just have to be very careful. Uh, they are fragile. So let's take a look right now and do a quick replay. I've gone ahead and done some zombie mode battles. We're just going to do a couple of levels of this. I want to show you how they play out. Now remember, high caliber, double tap, and tune-up kit. The tune-up kit is very, very important. They fire very slowly as it is, and you just want to keep them firing as quickly as possible because if they're doing 3,000 damage per hit, if they're doing, I'm just going to slow it down in a second. Uh, if they're doing 3,000 damage per hit and doing it twice, you just want to get them, just keep doing it. Then I'll show you here. You will see, hopefully, not right after they take him out. Next time. Okay. You should be able to see here the piercing rounds in action when they see that kills an enemy and then goes on to the next one. And now they're going to start firing into here. And what's really good about these guys with double tap and piercing rounds, you just see them mowing down these smaller enemies, is because they're a single target damage dealer. In essence, they're snipers, but because they have piercing rounds, it gives them the ability to hit two targets, maybe even potentially three targets, but that's very unlikely in any situation other than these zombies. But with double tap, you can hit two enemies and then pierce them and hit two more enemies. And so effectively, it makes them, it gives them an area effect kind of fire. Kind of like when you have bombardiers and you give them double tap to essentially give them an area effect because otherwise they're inaccurate as it is and it's just single fire. So they're okay in this mode, obviously, because they have very slow reload time and slow fire rate. They can get overwhelmed by a large group of enemies once you get a whole bunch of them together, and they could start piercing. Then they start being able to clear this space more effectively, and that's the same thing if you're putting them uh, into your base defense. I don't recommend them on offense. They move slowly, they reload slowly, they fire off their shots, and then they stop, right? And then the rest of your army moves on, and they try to keep up. They try to keep up. They try to catch up. By the time they catch up with your army, your army's already killed whatever they were fighting and moved on, and then they have to reset. So on offense, they're very very awkward, but on defense, they're pretty good if they're stationary and they're just waiting for the target to come in, and they can fire on it. All right, that's all we really need to see about these guys. Our next will be the Scout. Scout is a fantastic unit. We leave that for later. We do the Sharpshooter next. You know what, let's do the Sharpshooter next because it's pretty much just like the sniper, except this is very much a sniper killer. They start off 28 uh, range. They reload very quickly. Their damage isn't very big, but they have a special ability that increases it. They have more hit points, and also on top of having more hit points, they are resistant to piercing damage. They resist 50% of the piercing damage. They will absolutely be able to take a sniper shot. And when they will fire back at some amount, but they fire a base rate of 1.4, so 1.5 shots per second. So in the time that it takes a sniper to fire once, they will fire, oh geez, about 5 times, about Yeah, they will absolutely shred snipers. So right now I have high caliber, I have tune-up kit, and I have infinite rounds. I'm just playing around with this, but it's kind of interesting because it keeps them from reloading. It just keeps them continuously firing. I actually think that infinite rounds works better on sniper, and yeah, but I was using double tap, so yeah. The special ability is critical hit. This means they will critical hit every some percentage, and you can increase that by using the skills. The critical hit means it does an extra 50% of damage, and you can increase that with skills. Let's take a look at the skills. The first one is increased critical hit chance. So you start off with 25%, and you can raise that up to 60. You start off with 50% extra damage on crit, and you can increase that up to 60%. So it's a total of 110% at the top. And this third ability here uh, means that when you kill an enemy, you have a guaranteed critical hit for the next some amount of shots. So next 4 shots in this case. That's why I gave them infinite rounds, because I figured once they kill something, you just want to keep them firing and not stopping to reload so they can just continue to critical shot and kill something and continue to critical shot. And their fourth ability, the fourth skill is on a critical hit, they will apply vulnerability, which is really, really useful because it's an extra 25% of damage. I didn't show you the fourth skill on the sniper. It just dazes people. It's nice, but it's not even remotely interesting on the grand level. This, on the other hand, is very useful because it applies vulnerability to a unit, which means anyone else who's shooting at the unit also gets the extra 25% damage, which is crucial. And we could take a look at how that works. I've gone ahead as well. This one. This one. Okay. Now this is high caliber. This is infinite rounds. This is tune-up kit. They fire very quickly. They'll because they fire very quickly, they will go through their entire magazine. Again, why I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to have infinite rounds on these guys? And they do still reload because it doesn't completely refill their entire magazine, but it helps out. I've also considered tape magazine. I've considered extended magazine. All these things are very useful. I'm fast forwarding to the earlier levels because you need to use your abilities on these. They're very expensive. It takes a long time to build up a critical mass, and once you get a couple of them out, get about 5 or 6 of them out, they're going to effectively clear whatever comes out. I'm pretty much just going to watch and maybe spawn a few more guys. And you can see here when they hit, and you can tell when they crit because when they hit, these guys are going to turn kind of slightly black. You can see they kind of get this kind of dark halo around, yeah, this kind of glowy effect, this black glowy effect. That means their vulnerability has been applied to them. And you can see they're reloading, but they're still firing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, he's reloading. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gonna reload. But it's 9 shots in a row. That's more than what they would normally get. I think even with the maximum extended magazine, they get 10 rounds in there. So potentially with infinite rounds, they can get even more. And it's not a fully upgraded infinite round, so there's definitely room for improvement there. Yeah, these guys are fine. At this point, they've hit critical mass. They'll shoot down whatever comes at them. We're on level 6 now, and there's absolutely no chance that they're in any danger whatsoever. Let's see if we can get a few more seconds in. Show you wave 8. I really like these guys. They're good. They're very good. They're a big burst of damage, and we'll go through the numbers in a bit. Here you go. Got some runners. They're just going to clear them out pretty quick. They're very reliant on these critical hits, and they're very reliant. That's where their damage really comes in. Is they're relying on the critical hits and for the vulnerability and for the extra damage, and they're also relying on the ability to kill things in order to get those guaranteed critical hits. So their damage can be a little bit spiky. The sniper's damage can be a little bit spiky, well, because they fire very slowly and they have big hits. So it's just spike, lull, spike, lull. Whereas the snipers, it's a continuous fire, and then every once in a while there's a spike and there's a crit. And then once they do that, they kill something, and there's a continuous spike of critical hits. So if you want to beat a sniper, find a way to prevent critical hits. Well, you really can't do that, but you can prevent them from killing, which makes their critical hits far less consistent. So that's how you beat sharpshooters. And let's now take a look at scouts. Now, I've just started to unlock the scout. I'm really waiting for the next event, the next season, that is going to have the scout in the season pass. But even still, even with not being entirely unlocked, this is a fantastic unit. Let's go through the numbers. They have slightly less-ish, about the same-ish health as uh, same-ish health as the sharpshooter. They're very cheap, very, very cheap, and their cost will be reduced by their skill. They do a considerable amount of damage. I have level 14 high caliber here. There's higher than level 8s I have on the other two guys, but it's not that much more damage they're providing. But their stock damage is 824, which is more than the base damage for the sharpshooter, like half the damage of the sniper. They do, on the other hand, fire four times faster than the sniper. So you're going to get a lot more damage out of them in a short period of time, and they come stock with a magazine of 10. So they're definitely going to shoot very quickly. So you're going to get about twice as much damage out of her, essentially, as a sniper, because she's going to get 4 shots in, where the sniper will get 1. And the sniper will do 1900 damage, and the scout will do 800 times 4. Think about that. And then she's going to reload in half the time that the sniper is going to reload. Unfortunately, her range is 24, and there's nothing you can do about that. The aura does not apply to her unless there's another scout nearby, in which case the other scout's aura will apply to her. And then you can have 27 range, which is still not the same as the sharpshooter or the sniper. And if you have sharpshooters and snipers in your group, they're going to get the extra 3 as well, so they're going to have an even longer range. It's just very useful because she has a range increasing aura. So let's really quickly. She's weak to toxic. She has slight resistance to piercing, so she can take out snipers, but not sharpshooters. And she has weak resistance to ballistic, so slightly better resistance to ballistic than the sharpshooter. So because she has short range, she's much more likely to be in the range of something like a mercenary, a commando, MG, ranger, even anything that's going to do ballistic damage. So you want her to have a little bit, I guess. She's very versatile because she's the scout is a utility class. It's not a straight DPS class. She's really there for the aura, not the damage. Although the damage is very, very nice actually, but she's really there for the aura. So you want you don't necessarily need all the damage items. You just third item can be utility. You can give her health. You can give her volunteer badge, whatever you feel your fancy. Because our special ability is increase range aura, like the sergeant, got an aura around her, and everybody in that aura has extra 3 range, which is fantastic. Uh, when she hits an enemy, they have 50% accuracy reduction, which is great. Yeah. Oh, two. Attack range extra is 2. Oh, okay, fine. That's great. Okay. Always thought it was 3. I guess not. So her first skill is cheap labor. It reduces her own deployment cost by some percentage, which is great because she's already cheap and she's going to be even cheaper. You have influencer, which increases the range of the aura that is around her, not the increase in range effect that she gives her allies, but the increase of the aura around her. So if you're going to have 10 of these guys, that not really going to matter all that much. And I think volunteer badge is fantastic. You just get more of them on the field. But the spawn time is very short. The cooldown is very short, so you can get a whole bunch of them on the field, and they do good damage. So yeah, there's incentive to get them out there. And you have increased bonus range from the aura. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Maximum of something like 3.1, I think, is the bonus of this range improvement on the aura, which is what I was thinking about. Okay, I don't have her unlocked. So the first mastery, I don't have fully unlocked. It reduces her spawn cost by 50, which is great because that means you can get more of them out very, very cheaply and very, very quickly, as opposed to the other two guys. They're expensive and they take forever. Their spawn cooldown is very long. You can just spam these guys essentially, which is great. Her other two masteries increase the effectiveness of her aura, not the actual effectiveness of the aura, which would be to increase the range further, but just how many more units she can affect with her aura and how big it gets. Yeah, it's nice, but it's not the most useful thing on the planet. And then items I have here: high caliber tune-up kit. What would I give her as a third item? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much. I might just give her a vest. That give her more health. That'd be great. And just the same items I talked about before with the other units. Uh, give her infinite rounds. She can keep firing. Um, give her infinite rounds to keep firing. Give her tape magazine. Give her extended magazine. Anything to again keep her firing. Keep her from stopping firing. And you're gonna see here. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because um, none of these units really are very good at the first few seconds of zombie mode. They're just slow and single target. Where the sniper can hit, especially with double tap, can hit up to 4 units if it can kill them. And the sharpshooter just has raw DPS coming out of them. The the scout, on the other hand, a little bit further, single target only. Uh, damage is the damage is very, very good. It just doesn't spike in any way, and it's not an AoE. So what you really need is a whole bunch of them on the field in order to get the damage out, and that's good because they're cheap and their spawn cooldown is fast. Now that I've got 10 of them on here, yeah, this is it. I mean, they're just gonna mow down whatever comes at them. Their reload time is pretty quick. The magazine size is pretty big. Their firing rate is pretty good. They're just kind of middle, and for many applications, especially like this, middle is actually really good. Yeah, that's it. They got this thing handled. I think I stopped paying attention for a while here. Yep, definitely not even paying attention anymore to what's going on. They've got this. I do whatever I want at this point. I can watch it, spectate. I've got I've got a pink uniform on these guys, match their hair. It's actually kind of fun because you put them on defense like this and it's pink. It's really hard to see them. Any other uniform color, you can see their pink hair from a mile away. There it is, level 8. They're just going to start picking these guys off because they've hit critical mass and their damage is actually pretty good. Okay, so let's take a look at how the damage numbers stack up. What I have here, I've got the sniper with base damage. I don't even have the high caliber rounds. It really doesn't matter. Uh, Maximum high caliber rounds is 72% increased damage. So you can see here what they actually do and what numbers, what was I playing with? I don't remember. Okay. Yeah. With tune-up kit, the maximum fire rate for the sniper is 0.57 shots per second. The maximum fire rate for the scout is 1.37 shots per second. The maximum fire rate for the sharpshooter is 2.64 shots per second. And what you'll see here is that their magazine is 6 and the scout's magazine is 10. And the sniper's maximum magazine is 12. The sharpshooter is going to go through their magazine very quickly because they fire very quickly. They're going to go through their magazine in 2.3 seconds. And in that time, even though you can see here, the actual DPS on the sharpshooter is pardon me, is the lowest out of the three, they will output in those 2.3 seconds the most damage because they'll unload 6 shots. There's a chance some of them will crit. In 2.3 seconds, they'll empty their magazine. And this is just the shots themselves. This doesn't count the reload time because the DPS, the net DPS counts the reload time. This doesn't count the aim time, which is the longest actually on the sniper. But because they're going to go through their magazine, they're going to have to reload, and they're going to have to re-aim. That means that's going to drag their, it's going to considerably drop their DPS down. This is why I gave them infinite round, so that they could just essentially keep firing and not having to reload. That would be fantastic. Because when you have a magazine, a net magazine damage of 5,700 damage, you just want them to keep firing. You want them to not have to stop and reload. You want them to not have to stop and aim. That's the most important thing. And the scout, while it will take them 7.3 seconds to empty out their magazine, because they have a bigger magazine and they have a slower firing rate, they will still manage in those 2.3 seconds to do 4,251 damage. And it's also important because they have a faster fire rate. Because the sniper, on the other hand, in 2.3 seconds is going to fire once, and that's it. They might have the biggest DPS because they have the longest continuous fire, but they have the smallest amount of damage in a short period of time. They're just not going to drop things as quickly as a sharpshooter. And once a sharpshooter drops something, their chance to crit 100%. And that increases their damage considerably in that magazine. And if instead I said, oh, I don't want to give them infinite rounds. It's too much RNG. We don't know how that'll work. Okay, let's just give them, let's just give them extended magazine. We'll give them all extended magazine. But okay, with the extended magazine, they're going to do almost 1,300 damage in just under 4 seconds. While the sniper will get 2 shots out. Okay? And it's going to do a lot of damage, but it's going to do half. It's going to do half the damage the sharpshooter will. Because once the sharpshooter gets that, and I'm not even counting, add another 25% to that. I'm not even counting vulnerability. Once the sharpshooter kills his first target, then they have guaranteed crits. And once they have guaranteed crits, it makes it a lot easier for them to continue critting. So big burst damage. We're talking about sharpshooter, talking about a short period of time, talking about this window of their magazine's lifespan and vulnerability. And then on top of that, add veterancy if you can. So add another 50% of damage on top of all this. It's scary. It's very scary. Sharpshooters are scary beasts. Be very careful around them. You fight them essentially with bounty hunters that have their fourth skill unlocked. That's pretty much the only way to fight them. You can sort of fight them with you can sort of only fight them with trailblazers if they have their third mastery and you can spawn a whole bunch of them, and maybe you give them the vest and max that out, and you have the other mastery that actually increases their pierce resistance, and you also maybe give them coin or something so they can ignore some of these critical shots. It's very hard to deal with a high level sharpshooter that's pumping out damage at you. All right. Hopefully we've covered everything there is to cover. I guess if you want to, we can take a look at this one more time and look at the different effects uh, of gear, let's say. So here we have a net DPS of 1900. Give them taped magazine. How does that affect their DPS? Excuse me. It's an extra 500 DPS if you give them taped magazine. Fantastic. Yeah, that's for all of them. So it really does help out a tape magazine. Okay. Thanks for watching.